Hello, Alex here. In 2022, I said that when I hit 1,277 subscribers here on YouTube, I would do a film giveaway, just kind of as thanks for the support, essentially. I've hit that milestone, and I've got my questions for the Q&A, so in this video, I'm going to do the milestone Q&A and announce the winners. Let's get into it. Entering into the giveaway was just giving me a question for this Q&A video, and then telling me what you would use the film for if you won. Not every question is going to be in the video, but that doesn't mean that you're not in the draw, and if your question is in the video, that doesn't mean you won. 10 people chosen with the random.org sequence generator will each win 3 rolls of film. The first is 1 roll of Shaka Color, expired in 2007. I got 1,277 rolls of this stuff for free and have been aggressively giving it away over the last couple of years, and there is no more left, so please don't ask. The second thing is a roll of what me and my friends call Spicy Tri-X, a bunch of Tri-X that expired back in 1974. I spoke about this previously when I did a video on developing 50-year-old film, and it's a bit finicky, but you can rate it as high as EI or ISO 100 if you're very careful with development. The last thing is 1 roll of FPP low ISO color, an ISO 1 to 1.6 color negative duplication film for the duplication of movies. Technically it's Kodak 2254 and it's sold by the Film Photography Project, who were very kind to let me give away a bunch of rolls that I rolled down myself from a bulk roll. It's very blue and it's very slow, but it's very high resolution and I love it. Giovanni asks 3 questions, asking me to reflect on when I started my journey in photography, when I got the mindset of I could make money doing photography, and then when I realized, damn, I'm actually good. When I was 14, I had a stroke, the first of many, unfortunately, which is quite a sad story, and at weekends, after school, or the days I wasn't well enough to go to school once I was out of hospital, I was pretty much housebound. My mother has always had an amazing garden, so I got my first ever digital camera and started taking pictures of the flowers around the garden. This is the very same camera and it still works, and I still enjoy using it from time to time, still with Fuji apparently. That's kind of how I got started and things snowballed from there. How I started making money doing it was that I grew up in a very small town, and relative to the few people who did photography in the area, I was pretty good. So once I got a DSLR, my Nikon D90, I started doing like small religious and family events, that kind of thing, 20 euros kind of thing for a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, and it just kind of snowballed from there. When did I realize I was good? I'm not very good at taking compliments, to be blunt. So I think the day it really hit me, well, it was 2 days, but very close to each other. The day that someone asked me if they could have a print of a photo that I personally thought was trash and thought, okay, maybe I'm being too hard on myself. And then the day that I was invited to submit 2 photos to a gallery exhibition. They were just a couple of weeks apart, and that's when I started to actually realize, maybe I'm actually okay at this and I should stop being so hard on myself. Emily asks what, in my opinion, is the worst film camera I've ever used and why? Technically, I'm sure it's great, but in terms of the user experience, the Leica Barnack cameras. Loading them is a pain. Cutting the leader, taking the camera apart, the viewfinder's tiny, the rangefinder's blurry. I don't like the cameras to hold. There's nothing about those cameras I actually like. I haven't used one for any length of time. I've only taken a couple of photos on someone else's, but still, I never enjoyed touching one. So in terms of user experience, that's the worst camera I've ever touched. The first randomly chosen winner is Mark, Streets Away. Congratulations. Kieran asks, what came first, an interest in chemistry or an interest in film? And did the interest in the first lead to an interest in the second? Chemistry first. I wanted to be a scientist since the age of 4, apparently. And to those who don't know, I do actually have a PhD in chemistry. So yeah, I'm a filthy nerd. I didn't necessarily get into chemistry, into film photography because of chemistry. But once I started thinking about getting into film, I looked into the chemistry behind it, especially black and white, and then I really wanted to get into it. Michael asks, what is your earliest memory of film photography? I was raised Catholic. I'm not religious, but my family are. And when I was coming home from my first Holy Communion, I thought the roll of film in our Canon Prima was finished, and I asked my parents if it was because I wanted to open the back and look at the shutter and see how the mechanism worked. I didn't know it was called the shutter at the time, but whatever. They said, yeah, go ahead. I opened the back and the film was there, and then most of the important pictures for the day were ruined. That's my first memory with film. The second winner is Thomas Lara Leonard. Congrats. Jack asks, where do I see film going in 5 years' time? Do I expect to see any new film stocks from the big names in the games, or more stuff like Adox with Color Negative, Color Mission Helios, and the original Color Mission? Honestly, I think Fujifilm are going to go out of the game, and that Kodak are going to pretty much contract down to the Eastman Vision lineup, so 50D, 200T, 250D, 500T, the duplication films, and Ektachrome, which we will keep in the actual photography division as well, and then Portra Ultramax Gold. Probably not much more than that beyond just Tri-X and the T-Max films. I don't see them introducing anything else. I could see them discontinuing a couple of those stocks. Probably Ultramax. As much as I like Ultramax, I could definitely see it going. And yeah, I don't see us ever having a huge manufacturer like Kodak or Fuji ever again. I would like to see more stuff like Color Mission coming out, but I expect that most of what we're going to see in the next 5 years on the color negative side is going to be just more Vision rebrands. Blake asks, what is your favorite aspect ratio to shoot with? 6x6, 6x7, etc., and with which film stock? 65x24, Aerochrome. The third giveaway winner and first international winner is Chris Gowerco. Congrats, Chris. Thomas and Chris ask essentially the same question. Are there any discontinued color film stocks I'd like to shoot, or film stocks that I have not shot that I would like to shoot? The answer is Venus Natura 1600, because basically all of it is unusable at this stage, so no amount of money, you can't just buy the most expensive listing and get good stuff. Most of it isn't really good anymore. Kaniska asks, what kind of emulsion would you like to see brought to market that could be realistically done with the current manufacturer? I expected a question like this and had an answer, and that was going to be a 400 speed orthochromatic film. And then FOMA announced FOMA Ortho 400, so I'm going to go with my answer from Ilford's last survey they put out. Ilford Ortho 320, give it to us. Next up, the fourth giveaway winner is Blake, K Malin Photography. Congrats, more film to keep in your backpack. Tom, Evan and Mark ask essentially the same question. Is there a place or subject that I would like to shoot that I have not yet shot? And I'll give you two answers between the three of you. The first would be the Alps or the Rockies and panoramic 6x12, 6x17 with Aerochrome, or New York City, Times Square, street photography and architectural stuff with the X-Pan 30mm, just like Hasselblad had in their advertising when the camera was new. Mike asks a possibly controversial question. What would you say is the worst impact social media has had on film and the film community, and what is the best aside from general exposure, of course? So worst, I don't give a damn about people talking about, oh, so-and-so person, they're not a real photographer, they bought a Contax and Portra. Don't care. More people buying stuff is good. That's the end of the world. End of it. That keeps film alive. That's what we need. What's bad, I would say, with social media is just the commodification and dilution of everything. Think like Syndrome in The Incredibles. When everyone is a photographer, no one's a photographer. That's not specific to film, but it has happened with film in the same way I see when I do events work and people are like, I can just use my phone. It's like, okay, do it then. The best thing is probably just exposure and awareness and more people buying film, which keeps the demand up. Serious photographers can try and gatekeep this stuff, but for every one of you who buys 50 rolls of whatever in a year, there are 10,000 people who buy 2 rolls a year, and they outnumber you in terms of the market. Halfway there, the fifth winner is another international winner, Evan Milligan. Congrats, Evan. Henry asks, can you shoot on all Kodak intermediate films or print films? The answer is yes, but you'd have to test the ISO yourself, and none of them are actually daylight or tungsten balanced. They're usually illuminated with LEDs or other such. So the results are going to be very wild, and don't count on good results, but yes, you could do it. More Troublesome asks, do you wish there were any specific types of environment in Ireland that we don't have? Rocky Mountains, like huge ones. The rolling Wicklow Mountains and the like are beautiful, but I want Rocky Mountains. The sixth winner in the giveaway is Henry James. Congratulations to you. Robin asks, which photograph that I've taken that I'm most proud of and why? And I have two, really. One technically, one artistically. This first picture is one that I took on Aerochrome with the X-Pan, metering with the in-camera meter under very difficult lighting while trying to focus at f4 and handhold at 1/30th of a second while not scaring the squirrel. So it's manual focus, rangefinder, panoramic, infrared, slide, high tension photography. There was a lot going on in that shot and I had no time to get ready. I just saw the squirrel while I was framing something else, and I'm really happy that one worked out. Technically, one of my most proud shots. This other one is probably not the best, but one of my favorite creative process shots. I was working out of a magazine that I was following while I was homesick after the whole stroke thing. And I had my Nikon D90, my Sigma 105mm pre-HSM macro lens, the old screwdriver version. And I followed a guide from one of these magazines where I had a CD case covered with water droplets above a bowl of M&Ms. Hi, Tom. And it was just executing something, and that was the first time I created a scene rather than capturing something that was already there. And that was just like, you know, a core memory kind of moment. The 7th giveaway winner is Kelly, who was actually the last person to enter before I stopped accepting entries. Congratulations to you. Mark asks, one camera, one lens, and one film stock for the rest of your life. What do you take? X-Pan 2, probably the 30mm, maybe the 45, but probably the 30, because even though I use it less, I do love the shots that I take with that camera, that lens more. And probably, jokes aside, Portra 400, because it pushes really well when I need speed, and I can pull it or just overexpose it when I need to shoot at a lower ISO. It's probably the most versatile option if I had to pick one, and you can always convert it black and white. Tom, we have a lot of Toms, asks, given the continued shortage of color film at the moment, have you found any favorite black and white emulsions you keep coming back to? The answer is yes. The answer is XX 5222. It's amazing stuff. I would have preferred to go for Tri-X, but this is less than half the price and you can't get bulk rolls of Tri-X basically anywhere ever. It's not the same emulsion, but it's a perfectly fine substitute and I really like it. The 8th giveaway winner is Kaniska over in the UK. Anyone who has both an infrared and a panoramic section on their website is fine by me. Rick wants me to answer either what's the most underappreciated or underutilized artistic aspect of photography, or what aspect would you encourage photographers to study in order to improve? I'll give a half answer to the first and then a proper answer to the second. My half answer for underutilized and underappreciated things would be lighting modifiers. Flashes are one thing. Buy a reflector, it will change your life. In terms of studying, study your own work. Figure out what you don't like about your photography, what you're doing wrong, and what you need to do to improve that. I've spoken about this in my importance of learning from your mistakes video, and it's true. My photography got so much better so quickly when I started sitting down and actually looking at the photos I don't like, not just deleting them, especially digital, and just looking, why don't I like this? What can I do better? How do I do that the next time I try this type of shot? And it makes such a difference. Dylan asks, if you could develop your own, pun not intended, that's a lie, your own film stock, what would you aim for? What speed, what process? ISO 400, E6. Perfect. We need more Provia 400X, Ektachrome 400. Just bring it back. If I had an opportunity, that's what I would go for. I would bring back something like that. The 9th and penultimate winner of the giveaway is Steve Lynch Photos. I'll see you in Cork. Casper asks, what do you think of medium format on digital and has it been swaying you away from film? It's amazing. The GFX is a slow but incredible camera, as I spoke about recently. In terms of film, I've been shooting a bit less 35mm and so much more 4x5 since getting the GFX. Something about it just makes me happy with my smaller format kind of needs in photography. And then when I want to do something more interesting, I'm just so much more likely to break out the 4x5 these days. So I'm probably shooting less film in terms of shots, but I'm doing more photography and what I do is a lot more involved. Last question. Kelly asks, what entry-level camera would I recommend for someone looking to upgrade from a basic point and shoot? So I would say get the cheapest working camera you can with a Canon FD or maybe EF if you want something more electronic, Nikon F, Pentax K, and probably Olympus OM mount. Any of those that has a light meter and ideally an aperture priority mode with just a basic 50mm lens or a 35 to 70mm zoom. That way you can use the aperture priority to learn some of the exposure triangle as you go, and then have full manual control at the same time. You have the analog experience for the most part, unless you go for a cheaper Canon EOS body with the EF mount. And you just have a bit of feedback. You're not going blind. You don't have to worry about external light meters. It's a fairly self-contained thing, and you can play around with settings and hopefully things work out. The 10th and final winner in the giveaway is Mike, 35mm experiment. Congratulations to you. So yeah, 1,277 subscribers was a very arbitrary goal that just, why not? I really appreciate all the support and positive comments and positive critique that I've received over the last 3 years while I've been doing all this. Things have improved a lot. I still have a long way to go, but I have a lot in the pipeline and I just need to find time to keep making these videos. I really appreciate the support from everybody, and this is just one way that I can give back to you. All 10 winners, I will get in contact with you during the course of today through to the weekend. This video should be coming out on Friday. And if you're in Ireland, I will happily meet you in the city or just bring it to one of the photo walks if that works for you. Everyone else internationally, I'll be in touch about postage. That is all I have to say, because there's nothing else beyond the questions, I guess, beyond just saying thanks again. So stay safe, and bye-bye for now. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Shaka1277 for new pictures every day. If you like this video and enjoy what I do on the channel, please consider subscribing or checking out my Patreon, where the tiers start at just €1 per month.